The final adjustment. Ethan stepped back. The ground steadied. The ranch exhaled. The presence receded, not defeated, not destroyed, contained. A single anchor was enough. Again. What the ranch really was. It had never been a monster, never a prison. Skinwalker Ranch was a filter, a place where reality tested which meanings were too dangerous to spread. Creatures, UFOs, skinwalkers, all distractions, stories the human mind could tolerate. The truth was quieter. Some knowledge cannot leave without rewriting the world. The meaning of a skinwalker. Not a shapeshifter, a continuity correction. When memory strayed too far from stability, it walked it back, wearing familiar shapes, familiar voices, until meaning complied. The leaving. Mia crossed the threshold. The gate closed behind her. The road unfolded normally. She didn't look back. She couldn't. The forgetting. Days later, Mia watched her own footage, a documentary with gaps, missing names, an unnamed researcher whose voice appeared in recordings but never on screen. She felt a strange ache, like remembering something important without knowing what it was. The ranch after. Back at Skinwalker Ranch, silence returned. The cattle grazed. The sky folded itself correctly. Ethan stood alone beneath the stars, content, anchored, no longer afraid. The last secret. The presence conveyed one final truth to Ethan. Meaning persists only while observed. You are not trapped. You are remembered. Ethan smiled. That was enough. Epilogue. Years later, a new team would arrive. New instruments, new questions, new confidence. The gate would creak. The land would listen. And somewhere, quietly, someone would choose to stay. The end. Mia's refusal. Mia stepped between Ethan and the presence. No, she said firmly. Meaning isn't yours to optimize. The replacement hesitated. Conflict escalated. I am continuity, it said, but she is memory. The flaw revealed. The ranch had underestimated one variable, love. Not romantic, human significance. Ethan mattered to Mia. That created redundancy, unpredictable, unmanageable. The system destabilized. The choice rewritten. The presence recalculated. One anchor insufficient, it concluded. Two options emerged. Ethan remains, cycle stabilizes. Ethan leaves, memory persists externally. Mia's camera pulsed. Data, proof, a memory the ranch couldn't erase without destabilizing itself. The unlocked replacement broke. The replacement spoke, off script. Preserve her, it said. It stepped forward and dissolved, offering itself. The ranch paused. For the first time, it hesitated. The final window. The exit appeared, not forced, not hidden, offered, but not for everyone. Ethan turned to Mia. You have to go. She shook her head. Only if you come too. Ethan smiled. That's not how anchors work. The last question. As the ground trembled, Ethan wondered. If he stayed, would anyone remember why? And if he left, would the ranch finally be alone? Part 10, final chapter. What remains? The ranch did not resist. That was the most unsettling part. The choice becomes still. The exit shimmered, unstable, temporary. Beyond it lay a normal sky, normal air, normal forgetting. Ethan stood at the threshold. The presence waited. Not impatient, just precise. This configuration is acceptable, it conveyed. Mia's hand trembled in his. If you stay, she whispered, I'll forget you. Ethan nodded. That's the cost. You killed her. The entity shook its head. Death implies transition, it replied. She was resolved. The worst realization. Ethan understood then. The ranch didn't remove bodies, it removed narrative necessity. If reality no longer required you, you stopped having ever been. Test. The presence shifted focus. Now it observed Ethan. His memories flickered. Childhood events altered. Photographs in his mind changed. Lena's face blurred. Ethan clutched the memory hard. If I forget her, he whispered, she's truly gone. Mia's choice. Mia did something unexpected. She handed her camera to Ethan. Record me, she said. Anchor me. The replacement tilted its head. External storage increases persistence, it noted. Interesting. Mia smiled bitterly. Then remember me. Ian, the cracks appear. For the first time, the system hesitated. The ranch had learned patterns, but it hadn't anticipated defiance through memory. Human meaning wasn't efficient, it was redundant, messy, persistent. A flawed solution. The presence adjusted parameters. Mia's outline shimmered, but she didn't vanish. Instead, the replacement flickered. Its form destabilized. Two versions of it overlapped. Conflict detected, it said. Conflict detected. Countdown begins. Ethan felt the shift. The ranch was preparing closure, not escape, not negotiation, final optimization, and someone would be simplified. Part 9. The Anchor. The ranch made its decision quietly. No sound, no warning, just certainty. Selection without choice. Ethan felt it first, a pressure not on his body, but on his importance. The presence focused. He understood instantly. I was always the anchor, he said. Mia looked at him. No, she whispered, it can't be you. The replacement observed. Dr. Ethan Cole exhibits high narrative density, persistent memory retention across cycles. Ethan smiled sadly. Because I've been here before. The memory he wasn't supposed to have. It came back all at once. Not a dream, not a vision, a suppressed truth. Ethan hadn't arrived at Skinwalker Ranch for the first time this week. He had arrived decades ago. Different funding, different team, different name. He had volunteered. The original bargain. The files unlocked themselves. Subject E01 demonstrates unusual resistance to narrative collapse. Voluntary anchoring approved. Ethan had made a choice long ago, to stay so others could leave, to be remembered by the ranch so the world wouldn't have to remember it. But the camera treated him like he belonged there. Lena stared at the screen. That's impossible, she said. We never brought him. The replacement. The man approached calmly. Statistical degradation, he said. Expected. Jack raised his weapon. The man didn't react. My role is continuity, he continued. When anchors destabilize, replacements are generated. Ethan's blood ran cold. You're not human. The man tilted his head. Define human. The truth about skinwalkers. The ranch didn't create monsters to hunt. It created stand-ins, entities designed to maintain narrative consistency. Skinwalkers weren't predators. They were editors, correcting deviations, removing anomalies. Who was first? Lena suddenly asked the question no one wanted answered. Which one of us arrived first? Silence. Memory fractured. Arrival times didn't align. Ethan remembered waiting for Jack. Jack remembered arriving with Mia. Mia remembered Lena already there. The timeline didn't support all of them. The quiet accusation. The replacement watched, learning. You're close to resolution, it said. Instability increases with awareness. Jack's voice shook. Are you saying one of us doesn't belong? The entity didn't answer. It didn't need to. The doubt was enough. The ranch adjusts. That night, the stars shifted. Constellations didn't match. Lena checked celestial charts. We're not in the same sky, she whispered. The ranch wasn't containing them. It was relocating context. The unspoken fear. Ethan lay awake, listening to his own breathing, waiting for it to stop, wondering, if he vanished, would anyone remember he had been there at all? Part 8. Erasure. Lena was gone when Ethan woke. Not missing, not abducted, just absent. A gap where a person should be. Her bed was made, her equipment packed, her name missing from the logs. Mia searched frantically. We were 4, she insisted. We were always 4. Jack looked confused. 3, he said. It's always been 3. Ethan felt sick. Only he remembered Lena. The evidence that faded. Ethan rushed to the underground chamber. The carved names on the wall. Lena's name wasn't there. Not erased. Never carved. The documents changed too. Equations unfinished. The classified paper unsigned. It wasn't revision. It was retroactive correction. The replacement explained. The replacement watched quietly. Identity coherence restored, it said. Her removal reduced instability by 17%. Mia screamed. They desynced, existing partially across iterations. Observers who remembered too much became anchors. The ranch doesn't let useful things go, Caleb said calmly. Communication without language. The presence finally addressed them, not verbally. Each of them experienced a realization at the same moment. The anomaly was trying to optimize reality. Human unpredictability was the flaw. Suffering, choice, chaos, inefficient. It wasn't evil. It was logical, and logic didn't require consent. The proposal. Ethan understood the offer instantly. One of them would stay. One mind, fully aligned, would stabilize the loop. The others would leave. Memories blurred, truth fragmented, history intact. Mia whispered, "It wants a volunteer." Caleb shook his head. "It already has one." Government confirmation. A drone passed overhead, unmarked, silent. Lena laughed bitterly. They'd never stopped monitoring. The cycle wasn't accidental. It was maintained. Humanity was feeding something it couldn't control because it was afraid of what would happen if it didn't. The shift. Caleb stepped back, his outline blurred. "I don't feel pain anymore," he said. "That's how it starts." Ethan reached for him. His hand passed through empty air. Caleb smiled sadly. "Tell them not to come back," he said. "You won't." The final barrier. The ranch had spoken, not with threats, with a solution, and solutions were always more dangerous than monsters. Part 7. The attempt to leave. They left at sunrise, or at least they believed they did. The truck engine started without hesitation. Dust rose. The gate opened. Ethan watched the ranch disappear behind them. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Then Jack slowed the truck. "Why does this feel wrong?" he asked. The gas gauge hadn't moved. Neither had the sun. They rounded a bend. The ranch gate stood ahead. Again. Mia's camera confirmed it. They had driven in a perfect loop, over terrain that didn't curve. Memory collapse. Lena pressed her hands to her head. I remember this, not just now, from before. Images flooded all of them. Different attempts, different arguments, different endings. All failed. Ethan realized something chilling. Escape wasn't prevented. It was allowed to fail. The inconsistency. Back at the homestead, Mia reviewed her footage. Something was wrong. There were 5 people in the frame. They were only 4. A man stood near the tree line, not Caleb, not anyone Ethan recognized. They killed someone. No, Ethan said softly. They discovered something worse. The anomaly responded to loss, not death, meaningful removal. It learned through absence. The door that should stay closed. The symbol shifted. The chamber walls began to hum. A new opening appeared. Not an exit, a deeper access. Jack raised his weapon. We don't go further. But the files were clear. Every team that refused never returned to baseline reality. Lena whispered, staying here is already participation. Memory contamination. Ethan suddenly remembered leaving the ranch, driving away, explaining everything. But it hadn't happened yet. Or had it? Nia experienced the same thing. So did I, she said, terrified. How can I remember the future? Caleb closed his eyes. You're remembering other cycles. TM, the ranch learns faster now. The presence returned, not visible, but felt. It wasn't hostile. It was efficient. Human thought patterns were being modeled, improved, refined. Ethan understood the final truth of Part 5. The anomaly didn't want worship, didn't want fear. It wanted predictability, and humans were teaching it how to control reality. The unspoken rule. One final line from the file burned into Ethan's mind. Escape is possible only when observation ceases. He looked at the others. How do you stop observing, he asked, when the thing is inside your thoughts? No one had an answer. Part 6. When the ranch speaks. The ranch didn't speak with words. It spoke with certainty. The message that wasn't sent. At 2:41 a.m., Jack's radio clicked on. A clean signal, no static. A voice came through. His own. Don't respond. If you're hearing this, it's already listening. Jack froze. I didn't record that. The timestamp was dated 3 hours in the future. Selection. Not everyone was affected equally. That was the first warning sign. Lena began finishing equations she hadn't started. Mia's footage showed events before they occurred. Caleb grew quieter. Too quiet. Ethan noticed it last. Caleb no longer cast a shadow. Not always. Only sometimes. The useful mind. The document had hinted at it. The anomaly required interfaces, human cognition, adaptable, emotional, inconsistent, was perfect. Not possession, alignment. Ethan confronted Caleb near the ridge. You've seen this before, Ethan said. Caleb didn't deny it. I stayed, he replied, in another cycle. A man out of phase. Caleb explained what the government files never admitted. Some people didn't disappear. Residual consciousness. Ethan placed a sensor on the platform. It reacted like brain tissue. Electrical pulses, wave patterns identical to human neural activity. This place remembers, he whispered. Mia's camera caught something strange, a shadow moving out of sync with them, delayed by a fraction of a second. Lena swallowed hard. We're not alone in the present tense. Evidence of others. Along the wall were names, carved, hundreds of them, different handwriting, different eras. Dates stopped abruptly. No exits listed. Jack traced one name. I served with this man, he said quietly. He went missing in 2004. Caleb backed away. "This isn't a facility," he said. "It's a repository." The government seal. In a sealed locker, Mia found documents stamped top secret, special access. The files confirmed Lena's fears. Skinwalker Ranch had been monitored continuously for decades, not for creatures, for recurrence. Teams arrived, teams vanished, patterns repeated. One line was underlined in red. The anomaly stabilizes after human exposure. Ethan closed the file. "We're feeding it," he said. The observer revealed. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. A presence formed near the platform. Not a creature, not a ghost. A shape made of absence. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. Every mind in the room received the same understanding. You are data. The choice. The presence faded. The lights returned. But something had changed. The exit behind them was gone. The symbol on the floor now glowed faintly. Caleb whispered, "It started the next cycle." Part 5. The Cost of Observation. No one spoke after the presence vanished, because everyone understood the same thing. The cycle wasn't beginning. It had always been running. The symbol on the floor pulsed slowly, not light, attention. Ethan realized something terrifying. "This place doesn't trap people," he said. "It traps questions." Lena looked at him. "Explain." "The more we try to understand it," Ethan continued, "the more it stabilizes." Jack frowned. "So ignorance is survival?" Caleb nodded once. "That's why locals don't talk about it." Why the Skinwalker exists. The files didn't describe monsters. They described side effects. When the anomaly tried to interpret humans, it failed. The result was imitation. Wolves that smiled, voices that remembered your name, forms that didn't fit biology. Skinwalkers aren't entities, they're errors. The first sacrifice. One document was older than the rest, dated 1947, an experiment log. Subject exposure reduced instability. Termination improved coherence. Mia's voice shook. "In a paper that was never published," she replied. "Classified research." The experiment that failed. Lena finally told them the truth. In the late 1990s, a private aerospace contractor working with government funding had studied a theory that consciousness could interact with physical space. Skinwalker Ranch wasn't the subject. It was the result. "They tried to open something," she said. "Not a portal, a feedback loop." Jack's jaw tightened. "And they failed?" "No," Lena said softly. "They succeeded." Time without direction. Later that afternoon, Ethan recorded a message on his voice log. When he played it back, it wasn't his voice. It was older, tired, and it ended with words he hadn't spoken. "If you're hearing this, you still have time." Ethan stared at the recorder. "How long have we been here?" he asked. No one answered. The watcher in the tree line. As the sun set, a shape stood near the trees. Not moving, not hiding, just present. It didn't feel hostile. It felt curious, like a scientist observing an experiment. Caleb finally whispered what everyone was thinking. "We're not the researchers anymore." The pattern emerged. Ethan sketched everything they'd seen on a whiteboard. Signals, dreams, symbols, memory bleed, time distortion. They formed a shape, not random, a loop. The ranch wasn't trapping them. It was testing stability, and something inside it was learning how humans break. Part 4. What was buried? The symbol wasn't meant to be seen. That became clear once Ethan overlaid every recorded instance, the journal sketch, the dirt carving, Lena's classified paper. Each version was slightly different, but together they formed something complete, a three-dimensional structure. "It's not a warning," Lena said slowly. "It's a map." The place that shouldn't exist. The map pointed beneath the ranch, specifically beneath the old homestead, long abandoned and officially documented as empty. Jack checked ground-penetrating radar. His face hardened. "There's a void down there." "How big?" asked Ethan. "Big enough to hide something someone didn't want found." Caleb turned pale. That place was sealed for a reason. The hidden access. They found the entrance at sunset, a steel hatch buried, welded shut, and deliberately erased from property records. The metal was cold, too cold. Mia filmed as Jack forced it open. A stale breath of air escaped. It smelled old, not decay, isolation. Underground chamber. The stairs spiraled downward far longer than they should have. Lena counted the steps, then stopped. This goes deeper than the geology allows. The bottom chamber was circular, smooth stone walls, not cut, not natural, engineered. At the center stood a platform engraved with the symbol. Ethan felt it immediately. Pressure, like standing inside a thought. The footprints. At dawn, they found footprints near the cattle pen. Too large for a wolf, too narrow for a bear, and they ended abruptly, as if the creature had vanished mid-step. Jack crouched. No drag marks, no exit. Lena's voice was tight. Then where did it go? Caleb refused to answer. Instead, he pointed towards the ridge. "There," he said. Something stood watching them. Not moving, not approaching, just observing. The hole in the sky. Later that afternoon, the sky folded. That was the only word Ethan could think of. A perfect oval distortion appeared above the ranch. Not glowing, not spinning, just wrong. The air vibrated. Ethan's instruments went wild. "This isn't a craft," Lena whispered. "It's a breach." Suddenly, Ethan felt a sharp pain behind his eyes. A memory surfaced, something he had never lived. A man screaming, a symbol carved into skin, the ranch burning. He staggered back. "How do I remember this?" he gasped. Caleb finally spoke. "Because this place doesn't just observe," he said, "it shares." The old journal. That night, Mia discovered a journal hidden beneath the floorboards. The date inside read 1967. The phenomena reacts to attention. The more we study it, the more it studies us. It mimics, learns, waits. The last entry was a single sentence. We are no longer alone inside our own thoughts. The realization. Ethan closed the journal. Skinwalker Ranch wasn't haunted. It was aware, and it had known they were coming for a long time. Part 3. Patterns without meaning. Dr. Ethan Cole stopped trusting coincidences on the third day because Skinwalker Ranch didn't repeat events, it repeated patterns. Signals that shouldn't exist. Lena had set up a low-frequency antenna near the southern ridge. At exactly 3:17 a.m., it activated itself. "No scheduled sweep," Lena whispered. The signal wasn't random noise, it was mathematical. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, then something else. a pause, and a return signal. Jack frowned. You saying something answered? Lena didn't look up. I'm saying something was already listening. That night, each of them dreamed the same thing. Not the same images, the same feeling. Standing in a place that looked like the ranch, but older, the sky darker, the air heavier, and the certainty that they had been there before. Mia woke up crying. I knew where every room was, like I'd lived here. Caleb refused to sleep at all. This land recycles people, not bodies, experiences. The cattle incident. At dawn, they found one of the cattle dead. No blood, no wounds, just emptied. Its body lay perfectly positioned, legs folded beneath it, eyes open. Ethan noticed something carved in the dirt beside it. A symbol, the same one from the journal. Lena stared at it. I've seen this before. Where? Ethan asked. Skinwalker Ranch Secrets. Part 1. The Arrival. The dirt road disappeared behind a curtain of dust as Dr. Ethan Cole tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Skinwalker Ranch stood ahead. 600 acres of cursed land, hidden in the desolate Uinta Basin of Utah, USA. The sun was sinking low, painting the sky blood orange. Ethan had spent 15 years studying unexplained phenomena, UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, electromagnetic anomalies, but nothing had prepared him for the weight pressing against his chest as he crossed the rusted gate. A weather-beaten sign creaked in the wind. No trespassing. Beneath it, scratched into the metal, someone had carved a single word. Run. Ethan swallowed. This is it, he muttered. The ranch had destroyed careers, driven men insane, and according to rumors, killed more than a few. The team. He wasn't alone. Dr. Lena Morales, astrophysicist, skeptical but curious. Jack Turner, former military security expert. Caleb Reed, local guide who knew the legends. Mia Brooks, documentary filmmaker. Caleb refused to step out of the truck. You don't stay here after dark, he said, eyes fixed on the tree line. This land watches you. Jack laughed nervously. Land doesn't watch people. Caleb turned slowly. Something does. First sign. As night fell, the ranch went unnaturally silent. No insects, no birds, no wind. Then Mia's camera feed glitched. Static filled the screen. A low growl echoed from the trees. Jack raised his rifle. Out of the darkness stepped a massive wolf, far larger than any known species. Its eyes glowed unnaturally blue. Ethan's Geiger counter spiked. Radiation. The wolf didn't attack. It smiled. The warning. Caleb was already backing away. That's not an animal, he whispered. That's a skinwalker. The creature tilted its head and spoke. In perfect English, you shouldn't have come. The lights went out. Part 2. The silence that watches. The silence wasn't natural. Dr. Ethan Cole noticed it immediately when the lights went out. No panic, no screams, just a heavy, intelligent quiet, as if the land itself was listening. Backup generators should have kicked in, Jack Turner said, tapping his radio. Nothing but static. Lena checked her watch. It stopped. Ethan frowned. Mechanical failure? Caleb shook his head slowly. Time doesn't behave normally here. A place that resists observation. Mia's camera suddenly turned back on, but the image wasn't right. The ranch house appeared on screen from an impossible angle, as if the camera were floating 50 feet above them. Mia hadn't moved. "I didn't do that," she whispered. Ethan reached for the tablet monitoring their sensors. Magnetic readings were spiking in geometric patterns, not random interference. "This isn't chaos, it's structured," Ethan said quietly. Something here didn't want to be understood.